And today is April 16th, and at 5:30 p.m., I'm calling the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting to order. Nate, would you please go ahead and give us a roll call?
Let the record show all the commissioners are present except Commissioner Vanderouwer.
Thank you very much. Just real quick on this particular item, since it is part of the roll call, I just wanted to kind of discuss real quick, just for all the commissioners here, that we have commissioners that have joined recently that are fulfilling partial terms. So Commissioner Evers and Cappiello are both serving partial terms ending in 2026. We have Commissioners Quinn and Vanderouwer also finishing up in 2026. And then Commissioner Comarat and Vice Chair Hanson, myself, will be finishing in 2027. So just to have that clear, would everyone please rise and participate in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. All right, so today we have a special presentation from Rich Reisner of the Cardiff Foundation. He's going to be presenting on the Seaside Parkway project. Just a little bit about Rich. He's a landscape architect with over 30 years of experience who has led numerous project teams, including architects, engineers, archaeologists, historians, and biologists. He's had lots of experience interacting with government agencies such as the federal government, National Park Service, Bureau of Land Management, California State Parks, Caltrans, Department of General Services, Coastal Commission, and also city planning and engineering departments. He is a principal landscape architect and owner of Grounded Landscape Architecture, and is a local business, and it's been in business for 20 years. He's done a lot of different types of projects: community, city, county, recreational parks, urban parks, state beaches, natural preserves, wineries, hospitality, commercial, industrial business parks, and large private residences. I personally have worked with Rich through Cardiff 101 Main Street, where he is a board member. We have also worked together on mobility and beautification project at the San Alejo-Manchester intersection. He's a very dedicated volunteer that the community certainly appreciates. So, Rich, would you please come up and give us a presentation on your project?
Thank you all. Like Ross said, Rich Reisner, I'm a local Cardiffian. I got involved in this project in 2016 when RFP was issued to the community for minor improvements and beautification. When the parkway was in an agreement with the Cardiff 101 and the Harbaugh Foundation, when they got naming rights to the parkway. So, as you know, you have to go through a lot of community review processes before you come to a final design. We went through 4. The first one we really didn't count. Nobody showed up. And so the next community review process we went through, we made sure to do them at like a local brewery, or we had a captive audience, so we did it at a local brewery. We did it in front of Seaside Market. We did it at Dog Days of Cardiff, the Dog Days events. And then the Cardiff Library when nobody showed up. So we had a lot of great feedback from residents, special interest groups, specifically based on the safety of this area. And this was at the time when the rail trail was being installed, the coastal rail trail. So the community wanted a more open space. They felt that this area didn't feel as safe. There was a lot of vegetation. There was a small group of homeless encampments in this area. So the design started to evolve a little bit with that in mind, like opening up the space, making more of a plaza, centrally located, so it's more of a usable space. And then during the rail trail construction, we unearthed a piece of the old train depot. So that got involved and kind of got incorporated into the design as well. And then being a landscape architect, there was a lot of invasive species on that site. So we started talking about what's the best way to manage our environment correctly and appropriately so we're not causing damage to the environment beyond the site. So in the design, we came up with like these bioretention basins, as well as making it more of a native plant garden throughout the whole area. And then we went out to a rendering artist and took the ideas and then re-presented this back to the city council. Trying to remember the year. I think it was 2020 or 21. And had a unanimous vote for the design. So that's where we're at right now. As the foundation is, we're still trying to generate funding for the project. And the foundation is separate. It's a little bit hard to describe. So the agreement was with Cardiff 101 Main Street Association with Harbaugh Foundation. And as that agreement occurred, they said, well, we need to make a foundation specifically to manage the funds for this project. So that's where the Cardiff by the Sea Foundation got birthed. So I'm currently the chair of that, and I have another board member here. He's the civil engineer on the project, and he might be able to tell you a little bit more about that. But we had to, just like any other project in the city, you have to have all of it. You have to have geotechnical report, you have to have civil engineering. He's also volunteering all his time, landscape architect, and all, everything. So I'm real thankful for good team members. So is there any questions? I mean, we can flip through the slides a little bit.
Rich, why don't you give us like a little overview of the various uses that we would be seeing in this park space?
So yeah, right now, the idea is that we have these two trail systems going through the park, and it's really redundant. We have the original brick trail that's running through the old Carpinteria Parkway. We have these small little plaza areas that don't feel very inviting. And so we wanted to eliminate that. We want to use the rail trail. It doesn't make sense to have these redundant items side by side. And then what that does is that creates areas where we can have a little bit open plaza space, or we can have a specific sculpture garden. Because there was a paved area already there, we can go back in and reestablish just a portion of it with new materials that are a little bit more cohesive to the environment, and then create these little nodes. Some will be activated for community events, like you see the white tents. The idea there is that it could be a pop-up event for C101 or any type of an event in Cardiff. We even talked about shutting down, what's that street? Aberdeen, I believe, and making like we do here in Encinitas, a street fair day. So it'd be a very small street fair day and a continuation into the park space.
And Manager Nargard, would you advance the slide, please? So I'm also seeing an addition of seating, umbrellas.
Mhm. Yeah, those are the plaza areas. That tree with the lights in it is the main tree in the space. That's that giant, we wouldn't take that out. That's a giant ficus tree, and we're calling that the gathering tree for the community. The whole idea is, as part of the donor program, was it'd have a ring of donor bricks around it with benches and chairs that are also donor related for funding. But that tree is kind of the central focal point of the whole plaza, so to speak. It's right next to the most open, usable space, and it seems to be the focal point of that whole parkway.
And then approximately, what are we looking at funding-wise?
Which year do you want to talk about?
Well, I
Has this
understood what it
started-
was pre-pandemic.
Yeah, pre-pandemic, we were looking at, it was hovering right around $1 million, just slightly over. If we were considering like the permeable paving and some of the streetscape improvements that we wanted to do along with this. Now we're well over 2, probably 2.5. And that just scratches the surface of what can actually be done. I think in one of the images we showed streetscape improvements to the actual San Leo as well, so it kind of bleeds into the park, but that could be eliminated out and not part of the, part of the funding for it. And right now it's all community-based funding. We haven't reached out to the city. I know Joy is considering some elements of it that could be funded through the city, like the native plant community gardens and things like that, which would be great if we could get that as part of the grant process, but we're a long ways away from even breaking ground to getting to that point.
And then, so we're looking, or you're looking at this being funded primarily privately, but perhaps certain elements of it could be done through the city. And then that means that we would have more flexibility with regards to the construction and volunteers donating their time or participating in the construction of it, the donation of plants, those type of things that we couldn't do if it was completely city funded.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know how we would have to work out that agreement or MOU with the city where if plant materials provided at the cost from the city and a city's not installing it and we have general community installing it, how that liability works.
And I think it's important to note and understand this land is in the North County Transit District's right away. So the land actually is owned by them, but the city has an MOU with NCTD to maintain it. And actually, the Parks and Rec Department is the department that now maintains the CRT. So anytime you see them out there trimming or cutting down the flowers after they bloomed, that's all being arranged through the Parks and Rec Department rather than Public Works. In general, Public Works normally takes care of any plant material that is not irrigated, and Parks and Recreation often takes care of things that are irrigated. But in this particular case, it is not irrigated along that area, but the maintenance side of things has been given to our department to manage.
Right.
Where's the gathering tree in this picture?
The tree with the lights in it is the gathering tree. Obviously, it's a rendering. So it'd have to be thinned out and stuff. But yeah, that's the gathering tree right next to the plaza. Yeah, the plaza would open it up quite a bit to give us some, social use there, public use.
And I think it is Well, first of all, I think it would be beautiful at night if it was lit up like you have it designed there, and it would be very welcoming. Right now, I feel like that area is not a very welcoming area to go into. It's overgrown. We've had, like you said, some encampments in there in the past. I would say it being the end of the CRT, it just feels a little bit, it's probably the sketchiest part of the CRT, definitely. So I think opening up that area and kind of inviting people to cross the street and kind of enjoy that area, it's a huge expansion, really, of the public space in downtown Cardiff.
Yeah, the idea is that it's like our gateway park, so to speak, as you enter Cardiff from Coast Highway. And just having the state parks across the street, I noticed, and I did stop and talk to a couple people, like, they don't like to walk through there at night unless they're with a group of people. But like an individual, they're not going to let their kids walk through that area at night to go to, Seaside Market to buy an ice cream or whatever. So there's a lot of concern with like open visibility. So if a policeman can drive by, he can see in and see what's happening, or any person driving by can see into the park, or see into the parkway, I should say. Just so it's safer, just all around visibility, safety.
And that is right sitting on the major intersection in Cardiff by the Sea, which is the Chesterfield-San Alejo intersection. So as you noted, a lot of people come over from the campgrounds. They'll do the VG donut run. They'll grab pizza. They'll go over to Seaside Market. The way that they get there is through this area. So it would be fantastic to open it up, to provide seating, to provide additional shade structure, and really have it as being a community gathering space. I think that the community would really, really like it.
One more. So the little, so as you cross, like you were saying, from state parks and coming through this area, let's say you're going to VG Donut, that little structure right there is supposed to mimic and replicate where the train depot structure was. It's actually mimicked after the original shape of the train depot. And the platform's right nearby. So the idea for that is to actually give the person walking by, the visitor, like the history of Cardiff. We would have panels in there. We would have, like, maybe the roof would be a timeline inside that explains how Cardiff became Cardiff. It's not just a shade structure that you walk by. It's something that's like an interpretive element. And then obviously it would point out the old concrete depot floor that's the remnant that's left behind.
And you can see the pavilion in this second board right there.
There's the interpretation of what the original Cardiff depot looked like. That's the old train station. That was the waiting platform.
And then right across the street is the other old building in Cardiff,
That's right.
which is the Mercantile building.
Mercantile, yeah.
And those were really the two structures in Cardiff, other than maybe a couple houses on a hill,
Yeah.
that were there. So it's nice to have that historical piece to this whole plan, because they really truly are right across from each other.
So we can try to incorporate as much as we could about our city and how we got here, and then also bring it into current time with like how we should be using native plants as like a homeowner, the importance of stormwater runoff from our polluted streets and how to capture it, filter it, and then discharge it. So all that would be integrated into the overall design.
And that's an item that the City Council has been working on, in particular an ad hoc with Council Member Lyons and Ellers, where they are working on native plants, considering doing a native plant demonstration garden in some city parks. So it would definitely tie in well with their efforts there. So at this point, you have the geotechnical drawings that have been completed. What's the next step from kind of a permitting standpoint?
We have the geotechnical report. I'm waiting for my civil engineer to finish up his side of the pro bono. He's doing it pro bono. So once we get his work, my drawings, the preliminary drawings that were already reviewed, together we'll be putting them into a package and going back to planning and engineering department for initial review. And then we just go through the process just like a regular project. Hopefully, we're asking for some leeway with the city, so we don't have to get too in-depth. But we'll provide whatever drawings are necessary to get through the process for permitting.
And do you have to go through NCTD or
Absolutely, yeah.
and the
The city
Coastal
does.
Commission? Okay.
I don't, but the city will take my plans after it's approved by planning and engineering, and they will take them and walk them through NCDD, and I'll obviously be there to help support whatever's necessary. And then, yeah, as far as coastal, I think it's our own LCP. Is that right? Is it LCP that we have here? Yeah, and so we would do our own internal review here in Encinitas. There's no real structures being built other than the replica of the old train waiting platform shade thing. The other signs that you see here are kind of no different than our city signs throughout the city. We do have one monument sign that was part of the written agreement with Harbaugh and the city of Encinitas through the C-101. That's a requirement as part of the funding that he provided. Yeah, so hopefully Coastal Commission or Coastal wouldn't have much to say about it.
And then the Harbaugh Foundation, for those that may not be aware, are also the foundation that supported what the San Alejo Lagoon did on the Solana Beach side of the lagoon. So they definitely have done a lot of work in that respect in our communities previously, and actually Rich was involved in that whole process. So it's nice that we have you, with your experience, being able to bring that forward to Encinitas.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was a little bit different, but yeah. Anything else? Any other questions?
Any
Happy to.
other questions from the commissioners?
Yeah, is that a brick street you got going there?
Yeah, that was an idea where we would kind of take out the asphalt and use permeable pavers. We're trying to get a little bit more environmentally conscious about stormwater runoff and stuff. That seems to be one of the dirtier sections. We have that alley that splits behind Best Pizza and the liquor store, and it discharges a lot of debris right through that zone. So we're trying to pick that up with some permeable pavers. But even if you go across the street into the parking lot or into the parking area, that would all be permeable for sure, based on our engineering calcs from our civil.
Well, thank you very much for your time in presenting to the commission, and we certainly wish you good luck in continuing your progress. And if there's anything that we can do to help you, please reach out to us.
All right, thank you.
Oh, yeah. All right, moving on to oral communications. Nate, I understand we have two.
Yes, we have two speakers tonight. The first will be Brent G. You have 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Thanks. Sorry about the attire. Straight from the pickleball court. So here to talk about things that are super important. Brent Garrigus, local business owner, been here 14 years, have the bike shop down the street, and passionate pickleball guy. Anyway, I just wanted to come in and just speak about a couple of things. I know it's a subject that's been talked about. I watched some stuff that would happen before the end of the year, and I'm not sure where it is now. But I would ask the commissioners and parks to look into the teaching problem that's still there. It's been addressed with the one issue that one person that was really teaching a lot. But there are a lot of people that are teaching at Cottonwood. They're taking advantage of the public facilities and they're charging people money. And it's extremely irritating, especially as a business owner who pays for business, to see this happen. And most of the reason it happened is because there's not really any rules at Cottonwood. So, if they go anywhere else, they can't do it because there's open play and there's all these things happening and people coming on and off. But with there's no real structure, so they can get away with it. And group play kind of allows for that to happen. So, I would just ask that there be something that looks into that more and maybe make some kind of a fine that's pretty steep. Otherwise, they're just going to take the risks. But it is super frustrating to watch locals not be able to play while people are making money off of it. Also, I know I watched a meeting a couple of months ago with regards to a lady who came in and said, we really want open play, we really want group play. Listen, I get it. I'm at the risk of exiling myself from some of the group play by being here because they want me to be quiet. But at the same time, in my gut, I understand those people are mostly, and we group play during the middle of the day. When it's 4 o'clock and after, it's a mess. There's people standing everywhere. Nobody will give up the courts because everybody wants to keep playing. There's 16 people standing around. There's no signs. I could walk in at 4:30 and jump into a game because I know a lot of people, but anybody who's not in the group is standing around, super frustrated. I've told tons of people outside the courts, you just got to go to the city meetings and just talk to them, right? But anyway, I don't know what the status is. I haven't been able to keep up on it. And unfortunately, I got my son, so I'm going to have to jump out. So I won't be able to stay to see what's going on, but I'll watch the videos. But I do think that there is a happy medium between group play during certain hours, and then after maybe 4 o'clock or so, maybe that goes to open play with racks and a system to get people rotated through once people are off of work. I think both need to happen. I don't think it can be one or the other. And personally, I think it needs to be a little bit of both. And then just improvements, ask for a couple more benches inside the courts where people can sit. And then the last thing, 10 seconds. I would beg you to consider making Cottonwood pickleball all the time, not tennis priority on one court, and move tennis priority to Moonlight. Because you get 16 people bumped for 2 people to play. I know I got to go. Tennis could go to Moonlight. They'd be there all the time. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Harriet P.
Good evening. We were here back in November, and we came tonight. This is my friend Diva Arbenmess, and we came with a thank you note for you because we are so, so pleased with what you did at the gym at the senior center. It was a fabulous project. Everything was done so beautifully and so wonderfully, and there were a very high number of very pleased people with the Recreation Commission for what you did. It's just perfectly done, and we're all so happy. And so we got together and put together a thank you note for all of you because we're so happy that you came through. And I would like to agree with the gentleman who was just here. Everything he said was absolutely true. And I haven't played at Cottonwood in a long time because of it.
I played there not too long ago, and if you don't have a group, if you go there, just show up to play. Very few people. I know some people, so some people could invite me to play in their group, but very few people do that. So the open play, I think, it would be a better thing. Actually, before COVID, it was open play.
Yes. Yeah.
overcame, and I understand why groups, started playing groups, but they just kept playing as a group, and then if you show up there, you don't play unless you know somebody. This is it.
Yes.
So this is our card that everybody signed, and we are very happy. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all your work. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's nice to hear appreciative citizens. I know that our staff, who really should be commended as well, worked hard with Public Works to get those lights replaced so that you could see those balls better. So although we certainly appreciate the credit, a lot of credit goes to our Parks and Recreation staff as well. So, but thank you.
And it's written there for everybody and the staff of the Parks and Rec. Yes.
Sounds good. Well, I'll be sure that we share that with the department.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We are very happy.
All right, so let's move on to item number 6, changes to the agenda. Do we have any?
There are no changes to the posted agenda.
Okay, great. So we'll move on to 7, approval of minutes. If there are any commissioners that were absent from the last meeting and did not view the webcast, if you would please abstain from voting. Do I have a motion to approve the March 19th regular meeting minutes? So Commissioner Quinn has moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Fantastic.
Who was it that seconded?
Commissioner Capiello?
And the minutes are approved.
Okay, fantastic. So moving on to our first action item, and that is our Parks and Recreation Commission plan. So if we could turn to that now on our screens. So I've worked to kind of put in some language that's purely draft language for us to consider. So just to get some words in the stated goal and the projected outcomes, it makes it a lot easier for us to do edits to that. It's all open for discussion, for changes, for edits, as well as I've indicated the commissioners that had expressed interest in work plan items. That's in the second column. We can have a maximum of 3 commissioners in each work plan item. So just because your name's there right now doesn't necessarily mean that you might have changed your mind or you want to try a different work plan item. So certainly feel free as we go through this to make edits on everything. I would also just say that we're going to work on this work plan tonight, and we're going to hopefully finalize it, or we will finalize it next month so that we can then submit it to the City Council in June. I would say that if you're in an ad hoc, certainly feel free to just start working on it, because there is work that we can be doing right now. Even though we haven't finalized it, we can continue to kind of move things along. We don't want to lose any momentum, and there are some activities that are coming up in May and June that we want to make sure that we're active on. Also, as we kind of go through the work plan item, some that have been in existence for a while, as we look at the language to be updated, it's also an opportunity for those commissioners that have been working on, if you want to provide any updates as to where we're currently at on those. Any commissioners have any comments or questions at this point? All right. The first three are really work plan items that we have every year that we make minimal changes to, but we can certainly change the language if anyone feels like they'd want to update it in any way. So just looking at the work plan item number 1, regarding our park and recreation tours, we do have 2 commissioners already assigned to that. Is there anyone that would like to provide any additional or any edits to that? And would there be any other commissioner that would like to participate in that ad hoc? We currently have 2 at this point. I would say on this particular work plan item, staff does do a lot of the heavy lifting, so it's not one that's going to be real time consuming.
I'm interested in participating.
Okay, so we'll add Commissioner Evers on. Great. And looking at the projected outcomes language in the last column, does anyone want to make any suggested edits to that? All right, so I think we'll go ahead and move on to work plan item number 2, basically kind of outlining our ambassadorial duties as commissioners. We kind of break this up, and this is an unusual one where we kind of say all in the sense that we don't really communicate about it, but everybody participates in those ambassadorial duties. However, there is one particular event, the holiday parade, where there is some organization that's required in the November, December month when we're actually prepping for our entry in the holiday parade. So we actually walk in the parade, and staff will help us with signage, and but basically the commissioners will kind of figure out, you know, how we might dress or what we might do to kind of create a theme. So we currently have 2 commissioners on that at this point. And then are there any suggested edits to the language on the outcomes?
I guess my question is whether there is more specific direction as to the holiday parade, like if that needs to be its own item as compared to just part of, because being an ambassador is one thing, but if there's actually things that we need to organize or get together, like you said, if there's a theme that we need to be working on at something we want to maybe get ahead of instead of waiting until December, then I don't have a problem with it being part of this. I guess I was just curious as to why it wouldn't be just its own item, I guess.
Well, I think that's a very good point, and actually I think maybe just the addition of a sentence in that work plan item, we could actually identify it as, you know, ad hoc commissioners will, you know, organize for the Parks and Rec float / presentation in that. So I think that's a good idea because we kind of list it as members are doing the holiday parade, but we don't really speak about it in the outcome section.
Right. I think my concern is, I think being new, I prefer more hand-holding. So if there is some more specific direction to, this is what we'd like to try to accomplish besides just being there and being present, it'd be good to add that, an extra, yeah, I think that's fine. Add another sentence or so.
And you'll also be in the hands of Commissioner Quinn, who's already done it last year, so he'll certainly be able to provide some additional direction on that. But I do agree that maybe we can add a sentence there with regards to that. Is there any language in particular that you might recommend?
I think you mentioned it earlier. If it's that we're responsible for organizing our what is it? It's not our float, but if we have to walk in the parade
And a theme?
and theme. Is that what would it be referred to? It's not like, because there's all sorts of things. There's floats. There's people walking. There's bands. So it's our presentation or our.
And we're not actually involved in determining what the theme of the entire parade is. It's mainly what the 7 of us are going to be doing.
How we're looking.
Yes, how are we looking?
Coordinating the commission's entry, I guess, if that's the right word.
And this is a good entry into discussing that as an ad hoc. You can take a look at the draft language and certainly figure out between the two of you as to what specifically you would like to say. And then you can share that with Manager Nargard, and we can include that in next month's projected outcomes. And that would be the case for any of these that we are changing. If it's not just a quick edit, if it's something that you want to give a little bit more thought to, sometimes it's easier to draft that when we're not up here. Any other comments on that particular work plan item? That's good feedback.
Commissioner Ritter, question for Commissioner Capello. Did you get a chance to enjoy the holiday parade last year and our entry?
I was at the parade last year, and I don't recall every entry with specificity.
Okay.
But I was on the side, so I was with my family on the side watching, by like where the announce booth was, by like the Brickyard. I think I saw most. I think, frankly, I've been in the parade for various organizations that my kids have been involved in growing up. So many times I've never actually seen the parade until like a year or two ago. I've only been like walking in it.
Okay, so in essence of time, we can talk about that offline and what we did last year and maybe what we'll do next year. Okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
Could you give us a quick summary of what we did last year? John, you brought it up. I need to know.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, I think that the ad hoc committee from last year could give a quick summary if you wanted to, or we could move on.
Okay, really quick, we carried a banner, which I returned, by the way, last week, 6 months later. We carried a banner. Some of us had bicycles, scooters, and we wore wireless Christmas lights on our bodies. And we got a pretty good reaction. A lot of the viewers were screaming our name, and it was well liked. So
We're the fun commission.
yeah,
But yeah,
we didn't have
it
a
was,
big float or anything.
and the kids loved like putting their hands out and doing high fives as we were going by. So yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Moving on to work plan item number 3 regarding guest speakers. This would be very much like arranging a guest speaker like we had tonight. And we don't always necessarily have guest speakers, but it certainly is worthwhile to have them. It helps us be better commissioners. So this particular ad hoc would work on identifying guest speakers and coordinating them to attend our meetings. So we currently have 2 commissioners assigned to that. Are there any other commissioners that would like to participate in that? And is there any changes to the outcome language?
Well, I guess as one of the ad hoc members, I guess the I guess, anything after Parks and Recreation and this subjects and other topics of interest, I think we could just scratch through that. And I guess maybe what's our goal here? I mean, yes, do we want to just open discussion to, is this for us, or is this for people that want to communicate with us?
Well, I would say there are a couple of things that happened last year that I found most interesting. One is that we would have people who are subject matters on beach replenishment, on a variety of different subjects. The Nature Collective came and spoke to us. But then we also had a group from BCK Programs that had their students present to us on sustainability, on conservation. So it's a great opportunity.
So both really, that we would want to learn something, but we also want community engagement here.
I think that would be fantastic, yeah. And I think it's an opportunity for, if we can have some young audiences or young speakers come and speak in front of us, it's an opportunity for them to become civically engaged and then also to get some experience in public speaking.
Sure. And if anyone has topics, please shoot them over to me or suggest them right here. I could, make some type of plan going forward for this item.
And that was a point that I wanted to make, is that we do have 2 commissioners assigned to this particular ad hoc, but any of us could actually recommend a speaker and then just recommend it to either one of the ad hoc commissioners, and then they can kind of run the ball from there.
Yeah, I would look at my role as the one who makes the phone calls and organizes that and gets on the calendar.
Not necessarily. Like, I think, for instance, like Doug here in the audience, I think I would love to hear from the Encinitas Trails Coalition. They have a very specific interest in parks and recreation, and they could present to us their position, their needs, their wants that they would like to see in trails. And I know that the organization meets quarterly with our staff, but it's also a great opportunity for them to present in front of us so that we can kind of understand some of their goals and what they'd like to see from a trails perspective. I've attended a couple of the quarterly meetings that they've had here. I've also been out to a couple of their meetings. They are a really dedicated bunch that it's almost like having trail stewards. They're out there. They know when the trees have fallen across a path. They know when trails need to be improved. So it's really a great asset to have them out there. So I think having them come would be fantastic.
It's on my list.
All right. And I think you know who you could talk to right over there.
I've got my first task.
Perfect. The other thing I would also say is, since there's only 2 commissioners, you're certainly welcome to reach out to myself or to another commissioner if you need to help you with that. So
I will, thank you.
I had kind of kept item number 4 as TBA, and last meeting, Manager Hummer, who heads up our Recreation Services Department, was unable to attend our meeting. So I know that she has made some work plan recommendations that would be from the recreational side. And I think it's important for us to kind of have a balance between the parks work plan items and then also looking at recreational services. So what I'd like to do is maybe go through the plan, what we've already written, and then maybe we could come back to Manager Hummer and we can kind of look at some of the things that she would like to add to the work plan, and then we can kind of decide what we want to do from there. So we'll skip 4 at the moment, and we'll move on to 5 regarding outdoor adult fitness equipment, which is my little baby. And just as an update on this, we're currently working with a consultant on finalizing some concepts for Orpheus Park. The good news is we have funding for a playground replacement in Orpheus as well as Wiro, and we've decided that Wiro is not a park that would really benefit for having that type of equipment there, so we were going to concentrate on our first installation being in Orpheus. And for those that may not know, Wiro Park is kind of out in Levenhain. It's a very small neighborhood park. It currently has some playground equipment that they're going to be replacing. And then Vice Chair Hansen is going to join me on that one. Anyone have any comments with regards to the language?
I just don't remember signing up for this.
Well, it's probably because I wrote it up and I just stuck you on there, so. All right, so moving on to number 6. And this is one, and you heard it today, pickleball, tennis, they can continue to be issues that our community is constantly seeking a certain balance on. So I think it's very important for us to continue to having a work plan item that kind of focuses on that. And then also, as you heard, there are discussions that come up with regards to open versus group play. So I think that having some commissioners that have been on this in the past, as well as having Commissioner Capiello join the ad hoc to get some a new commissioner, so that this is something I just feel like we're going to deal with for years. And so I think it's important for us to have senior and junior commissioners on that, so that there's some continuity in the program. So we have that fully manned. Are there any inputs regarding the outcome language?
I have a question about the commissioners also will review the results of the feasibility study underway for sport court planning. So is that, in fact, there is a feasibility study that's like pending?
You know, that's a little bit separately, and this feasibility study that they're doing is actually for an Encinitas Community Park, and it's about the feasibility of adding additional sports courts to ECP. And those sports courts could be sand volleyball courts, they could be pickleball courts, they could be a fitness court. It's basically taking an area that used to be reserved for an aquatic center and a teen building, and using that area for a different purpose. And it involves going in and making changes to a master plan. So it's kind of early in the process, and it's going to be a lot of community outreach to see if the community is behind that. Manager Norgard, did you want to add anything to that?
That's Manager Norgard. No, that's a very good summary. We have hired a consultant to look at ECP, excuse me, to look at adding sport courts there. As Chair Ritter mentioned, we would have to amend the master plan for that in the CEQA document. So they're hard at work right now doing some initial high-level spatial planning and analyzing the CEQA document for whatever the impacts would be. We have received one draft of that, but we kind of kicked that back to the design team to make it a little bit more robust. And so once we have that next draft, we'll be able to share that with the commission.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Should we spend any time visiting Cottonwood and get a feel for what's happening after the complaint we got?
I think that's always a great idea. We also have our park ambassadors that go there to check in on it. I receive calls or emails from folks, not quite weekly anymore, but you know, it kind of ebbs and flows. And I think it would be great. Maybe once the ad hoc is fully formed and we're up and running, meet with staff and then kind of determine our goals and why we're going to be out there and stuff like that. We do have a couple things going on at Cottonwood now. We have new signs that are in production that we're waiting on. We have a couple benches that we're planning to put out there. We're just kind of checking to make sure we have clearances around the court so we don't create any unintended liabilities. So we do have some things in the works out there. So it'd probably be good to have the ad hoc meet with staff and determine what we want to do out there in terms of meeting and talking with folks. But yeah, I do think it's a good idea.
Thank you.
And I think it's good to have it be a bit open as an outcome so that there's some flexibility in what that particular ad hoc can respond to. Any other questions? Are we okay with the language? All right, we're making this easy. All right, so pop-up parks at city events. This is really fun, and we did this at Cyclovia 2 years ago. We weren't able to do it last year just because of the way the schedule fell with the change of dates to May. But this event is going to be May 21st, and it's going to be from 10 to 2, and they actually closed down 101 going through Encinitas. And what we did in the past and what we're planning on doing again in the future is building a pickleball court right on 101. And Manager Hummer actually got us a couple cornhole sets. So we'll be adding that to our pop-up park. And we have a sign that says Parks and Rec Commission Pop-Up Park, which is a fun banner that Nick Buck had designed for us. And so basically, I would love to see an all-commission hands-on-board effort there to man that. We can certainly break it up into shifts, and I think you'd have a lot of fun doing it. It's really nice because it's an easy, fun way for the public to start interacting with us. Rather than just a booth, when you get them involved in play, then it gives you an opportunity to really talk. This is also a great time to consider some of the other things that ad hocs are going to be doing, such as doing public outreach regarding the Outer Spatial app, which is further down there regarding Trail Master Plan and item number 8. So it's a great opportunity to talk about that. It's a great time to talk about our VIP program, which is a volunteer program that the Parks and Rec does in trying to get citizens to volunteer for various community events. So it's just a great, fun thing to do, and I hope that all the commissioners could participate in it. Right now, it's myself and Commissioner Vander Aurora, who is on that particular work plan item. Is there anyone else that has interest in participating in it?
I'm interested in assisting.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and add you as well. Thank you. In May? I'm sorry, that's May 19th. May 19th. Thank you. You're a good vice chair.
Sure.
All right. So May 19th is Cyclovia. And then the other event that would be coming up that kind of in the same vein that we'd love to use the cornholes for, again, interacting with the community, is movie night coming up on May 4th at Glen Park in Cardiff. I'll be out of town that time. However, Commissioner Vander Aurora will be there. And we would love to have some additional assistance if there were any commissioners that might be available on May 4th. The idea there is it's a movie night, so from 6 to 7:30 approximately is probably about your volunteer time frame. And Manager Hummer normally has special events for the kids where there are games, face painting, or a variety of different things that they do before the movie starts. So we might do the cornholes and get the parents involved if we can get them away from their coolers and eating there at their picnic lunches. But So if there's anyone that's available on May 4th that might be interested in participating on that. Okay, I got a 50% commitment from Vice Chair Hansen. Anyone else, May 4th?
I'm unfortunately not around on that day, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, super. Well, I'm sure we'll pull your leg to 100%. All right, fantastic. Any thoughts on the language?
I guess my clarification is all the other city events. And so you said there's a movie night May 4th, and I know that we have like this other calendar, and I don't know how often they do movie nights. So there's other events. Looks like that happen that aren't necessarily like front and center. I've had a difficult time even like managing the Encinitas website calendar to find these events. So like ideally it would be really great if there was some sort of a better master calendar that says even the littler events, so that I can at least make sure the ones I am around for to, earmark that I'll be available to show up for those that we decide to do these. And for that, I appreciate that it's open-ended to allow the ad hoc committee to decide which ones to do the pop-up parks. But if there was more specific events that besides like Cyclovia, I think we would want to include those in here.
Cyclovia is specifically identified mainly because that's when we can set up the pickleball court, and that's the one where it's like a big event. The other events that we would do, we're looking at them when the Parks and Rec Department is a sponsor on some level. Those things would be like the movie nights, maybe dog days, maybe EcoFest, perhaps. Things where the Parks Department is involved, where we have a booth generally, and where it has space to actually do something. So space is always a factor. I would say that probably by the next meeting, staff will probably flesh out that calendar a little bit more that we have. There are several events that are missing at this point, but I'm sure we're just kind of getting this commission term up and going, and we'll get those events located on there so that you have like one place that you can really focus on that. So we'll work on that. But at this point, it's more Parks and Rec sponsored events. And when I was looking at the calendars and seeing what was coming up, I was thinking that Cyclovia and the movie night were the two most immediate ones. We might do something with EcoFest, which is June 2nd. So are there any other events, Manager Hummer, that you might recommend at this point in the May-June timeframe?
Manager Hamer here. Not at this point, and I do usually bring them to the commission meetings as well as email you to see if you're available to help, as well as inviting our volunteers. So it's always just an extra, it's not a requirement.
And that's a good point. We can't always be at all things, so we'll do our best to do what we can. Any other comments on that particular work plan item? All right, moving on to the Trails Master Plan. We have that fully manned at this point. Any comments, suggestions on the outcome language? All good? Okay. And then work plan item number 9 is one that I just recently added. You saw the presentation on it tonight. The idea there is that we would assist the Carter Foundation with public and city staff outreach and to educate the community about the Harbor Seaside Parkway and to provide support. So is there anyone that might be interested in participating in that ad hoc with me? We don't have anyone else here from Cardiff, do we? So Vice Chair Hanson will once again come to my side.
Yeah, I can also help with that.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Work plan item number 10, support of Friends of Encinitas Park. Before we kind of get into the language and so forth, Vice Chair Hanson, would you like to give us a little update on this particular work plan item? Because I know there's been a lot of activity on it.
Thank you. The Friends of Encinitas Parks, Recreation and Cultural Arts has been around for a couple decades, and probably pre-COVID, it went into dormancy, and basically everybody that was involved lost interest. And a couple years ago, I was asked to revive it. So I got it current on all of the tax and legal requirements. We're ready to go. And it's really getting some momentum, and I'm really, really thoroughly stoked about it. I can use the word stoked. Anyway, our goal is to raise money from private donations to purchase things for the parks, the recs, and potentially the arts. Last year, we raised $10,000 when we bought a water fountain that the park department need. So it's a lot of fun, and it's getting momentum. So I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
And I'm working with Vice Chair Hanson on that ad hoc, and I would just say that I'm really excited to join his ad hoc on that, and I feel like there's lots of opportunity there, and I know that we've been spending a lot of time on kind of working on expanding our board membership, but defining our mission, finalizing a name, then moving on to developing a logo and a website. We've, through the urging of Manager Hamer, have met with Friends of San Marcos during one of their board meetings and learned a lot. They're an amazing Friends group that has a very active board, very close cooperation with the Parks and Rec Department, and they just really seem to have fun doing it, and they do a lot of great benefits for the community. And basically, we're looking to help fund things that the city, for whatever reason, lack of financing, can't fund. So they work, and our goal is to work with the department to figure out what are your needs that aren't being met, and then helping them hopefully find resources that would fulfill those needs. So we got an opportunity to even tour Pacific View, which was really quite interesting. So we're excited for that potentially opening in August.
So I think I failed to mention it's not for profit, so any donations we receive is tax deductible to the donor.
And the other benefit to the organization, or to the Parks Department rather, is that there are certain grants that, as a municipality, the city can't apply for. But through a nonprofit like this one, they could apply, and then we would then just transfer those funds to the city. So it looks like it could be a really fantastic partnership. Were there any changes that you'd like to make to the outcome language? Okay, fantastic.
Chair, I'm interested in assisting if there's still room on the ad hoc on that
Oh,
item.
fantastic. We
Yeah.
would love to have your help. Thank you. All right, fantastic. So that completes those particular work plan items. I'd like to kind of circle back to some ideas that that Manager Hammer had that she'd like to propose. So why don't I just turn it over to you, and you can maybe discuss some of your needs and where you think that the commission might be able to help.
Manager Hamer here. One of the items that we are working to develop is, since we'll be opening the Pacific View Arts Center, there's a big expansion of the arts programs going from the community center to the arts center. So they've taken all the existing arts programs and they're building new programs. And so we will have a lot of spaces to fill here at the community and it's called the Encinitas Community and Senior Center. So we're looking to kind of rebrand what our center offers, meaning health, wellness, lifetime learning and enrichment, as well as inviting new instructors to come on board, looking for new programs that can have an emphasis on that and a branding for that. We retooled our Become an Instructor process, so it's actually on the city's website, .gov. It says /instructor, and it's a very simplified process. So we've been really campaigning to bring on board new instructors. And as a commission, you're here in town, you know people throughout the community. If you know anybody in recreation and or arts that might be interested in teaching for the city, we'd love for you to be that mouthpiece and liaison to share how we are very actively looking for new programs and classes to add in this expansion. Our staff have been doing a good job adding on in those areas, but I know one of the programs on the top of my head would love to have dog training classes through the city. You can find those privately, and sometimes they will even permit with us, but we'd love to have something like that in our guide. But again, emphasis health and wellness. That was only one of the items. Another item would be to assist with the promotion of our activity guide. We have a quarterly activity guide. The department does invest quite a bit of money into printing and publication of that. It goes to each home here in Encinitas, but we have done a campaign to outreach beyond people's homes and to put them in different business locations and places where people visit, because we know a lot of our customers primarily are residents, but they're also visitors, tourists, people who come just for the summer. So if you're visiting Encinitas, you might see that activity guide, maybe in a storefront or a car wash, and then it opens them up to all the different activities that we offer, including the special events in that area. So those were two areas. A third one is our intergenerational programming. So I also am the liaison and work with the Senior Commission and the Youth Commission, and they've been doing some projects together. It's called Techie Tutors, where they do technology tutoring for older adults. They also have a game day, and if you are interested in getting involved in any of their intergenerational programming, this would be an opportunity to have Parks and Recreation Commission maybe get involved in that. Again, only if there's interest, because that's something they're currently working on their own. And last but not least, we have been commissioned by our city clerk to update and provide new bylaws for all the different commissions. Your commission in particular is in good shape because you already have some bylaws, but some of them are outdated or they're unclear, and we really think it will be beneficial for us to update those. And I know the other commissions, arts, senior and youth, could also use the guidance of what Parks and Recreation establishes as their commissions. Ideally, it'd be great if our department, PRCA, had some similar guidelines for all of their commissions. And you would really be the leader in doing that, since you have the established bylaws already in place. So those are 4 different items that I think, if you're interested, would be great to have added to here.
Could you tell us a little bit about what are some of the requirements that you would need to come in with to become an instructor? I know obviously you need to carry some insurance, which is one of those things that maybe people feel might be a little overwhelming, but maybe you might be able to speak to that?
Sure. It definitely depends on what program you're offering. So there may be a requirement of certifications or licensing. So we do look for that actual resume and background first to vet them. But if once they're accepted through their proposal, there is a process of needing to get a business permit, insurance, fingerprinting, TB testing. I don't have the whole list in front of me, but it's quite comprehensive. And then the city's usually standard contract is a 60-40 split. So what we offer to a contractor is, they will be given a space or a place, whether it's in a park or it's a room in a center or a banquet hall to do dancing. They'll be given a space, and we provide the registration and take all the money and do all the promotions in our activity guide, and that's where the 40% comes, and then the instructor collects the remaining 60%.
And that's the same type of deal that they also are working with the various artists that are going to be instructing there at Pacific View. I know there's a lot of onboarding at this process with that. Okay, well that's really quite interesting, and I love the idea of dog training classes. It would be fun to perhaps promote that to some of our local neighbors sometimes. But at any rate, so you seem to have identified kind of 4 different things. Do you see any opportunity of maybe combining any of those kind of into one work plan item, or do you feel like they should be separated as 4 different things?
These were only just suggestions. I don't believe you have to accept all 4. They were just some different ideas that are more integrated into recreation. And if you seem to have the appetite for it, it'd be great to add them to the work plan. I believe that many of these things you can do without it being on the work plan, as long as we make you aware of it. Again, you're the residents here in town, and you're our commissioner, so whether it's in a work plan or it's still something you help to support, I think either or would be fine. The bylaws definitely is something that is a requirement that we are going to ask for you to add. But the activity guide promotions, become an instructor, and the intergenerational, those are just ideas if your group in the commission has appetite for that.
Well, I would jump at the easy one for me, and that's the update the bylaw. So I would certainly be happy to create an ad hoc on that particular item. Are there any other commissioners that might like to do that? Okay, fantastic.
I would also, yeah.
We're fortunate to have Commissioner Evers, who has 20 years of San Diego County government experience. So, yes, we will certainly lean on you for that. So, thank you. So that fills that particular ad hoc then. So that leaves and again, like she mentioned, it's not that we necessarily need to take on all these. I mean, we obviously have a large number of things already, so it's an open discussion. So regarding the become an instructor recruitment, which is basically maybe just more of a public outreach type of a thing. This is something
Yes.
that we could either just kind of do as commissioners, just, please go ahead.
Yeah, and I think you're on the right track, because I was going to suggest, for being new, it would be really great to have either as the ad hoc or as a presentation at the commission meeting, a rundown of the volunteer program that the city has, and Chairperson Ritter had explained that to me when I first got appointed, but I still don't know very much about it. But it's exciting to me, and it's something I like to tell people that say, hey, I like walking on the beach all the time. I like going to these events. Like, do you know that there's a volunteer program I'm aware of, but I don't know how you sign up for it yet, or I don't know whether you have plenty of volunteers. But that's definitely something that I'd like to know more about. And then my question would be to the commission is this something in the past when we're ambassadors at events or a pop-up park that's what we're promoting when we're there is, hey, here's the Outer Spatial app, you check this out, or here's the volunteer login or website if you want to volunteer time. If that's what we're already doing, I don't know that we need an ad hoc for it, but it would certainly be great to be kind of onboarded with what that information is and what the city's needs are.
Manager Hamer, I do know you did have that listed as number 4. So what we could do is take volunteer promotion and recruitment and just add that for the expansion or promotions of. And we do have, it's become quite robust. So last year when I had started, it hadn't launched yet, but we do have now 180 people who have registered on the site. We have software that they can sign up for. We have different categories. And as much as I would say, like, wow, we have a lot of volunteers and not enough assignments. With this opening of the Pacific View Arts Center, they're really looking to have volunteers help and support those operations. So that's kind of just a whole new component that will be added to this. So I would say it would be well worth keeping on there, and that we could continue that education on what we need, and especially as that continues to change. So I know I worked with the arts team, and they had asked me about, could we add something? We already have a category called cultural arts where people can check off, yes, I'm interested in cultural arts. But as Pacific View prepares to be opened, we'll probably have that be a site, and people can streamline into that. So I think it would be well worth, if we want to say keep number 4, and we can add that being education information about it, as well as expansion with a new facility being open.
And then could you maybe speak to what the Arts Commission is doing, seeing that they're even more closely tied to the Pacific View Art Center than perhaps the Parks and Recreation Commission is? Do they have a work plan item that they're working on with regards to doing volunteer recruitment? I'm just kind of curious.
They're still developing their work plan, so I'm not completely sure what it will end up being. I know their focus is the recruitment of instructors. So they're, as a commission, that's why I had thought it might work for here. But again, I don't think it's necessary. But they're working on recruiting the instructors, and I do not know if they have volunteers in there, but I can check with that staff member, and see if maybe it can be looped in on the same efforts. But recreation, just in general, we have been assigned to be the lead for the volunteer program, but it's supposed to be department-wide, and it's supposed to be encompassing, all volunteers within our department.
This is a little bit of a segue with an idea that I've had with, rather than all the commissions necessarily working in their own individual silos, that it would be nice that each commission would have almost an ad hoc that would basically work towards reaching out to the other commissions, so that we have a representative from each commission and that they meet somewhat regularly and be able to kind of work on some of these joint things. Like I think that there are things that, as a Parks and Rec Commission, and things that are going on with the Arts Commission, or, now that I met Quaid from the Youth Commission, who is such a go-getter and such an impressive young man, that it's like, wow, there are some things that I feel like we could kind of work on together. So, I just find that we might do even more good things if we are a little bit more tied together.
Manager Hamer here. I think that sounds like a great idea, and that could be an item where you list either a commissioner attends one of those commission meetings. You could either do the 3-minute comment, or you could ask to do a presentation, as well as inviting other commissioners to come here. Like, youth commissioners could come to this one, or we can invite Arts Commission and try to intertwine some of that. And the Parks and Recreation Commission, could be the leaders in initiating that. I do believe that there are benefits to that and some shared interests, absolutely. They will not have it on their work plans, but I think it is well worth that. And that could be the people who oversee the speaker plans as well. You could actually invite, we would like to have the Arts Commission come, and, I'm sure that one of them would come to present. So they could actually be presenters as well as part of your meeting.
Thank you. That's some good input. Manager Norgard, do you have any thoughts on that idea?
No, I think Manager Hamer said it very well. So probably a good way to interact with the other commissions.
And then would there be potential violations of a Brown Act if one individual from each commission would end up meeting separately, that not in a public setting? I mean, they wouldn't be sitting on the same commission, but they would actually be commissioners from different commissions.
I don't know the answer to that, but we can look into it.
Okay. All right. So what we were looking at then on number 4 is kind of continuing the volunteer promotion and recruitment, perhaps also looping in some of the things like becoming an instructor in there as well. Is there anyone that's interested in participating in that particular ad hoc?
I'll
Fantastic.
participate. I want to learn more about the volunteer program anyway, so I would.
Perfect. Any other commissioners that would like to join Commissioner Capiello?
I've always been on it. You can put me down again.
Great. Yeah, Vice Chair Hansen was very involved last year, so it'd be great because he'll bring some continuity to it. So then some of the other, I also kind of feel like, one of your items that you had listed was supporting kind of recreational special events. Maybe that would kind of loop in there as well, with kind of, this is more of a promotional ad hoc. So, perhaps if that's what you're trying to do, that we could put that kind of grouped in that as well. And basically, rather than trying to hash out wording on this, I would just kind of turn to the ad hoc to work among yourselves, as well as consult with Manager Hammer and come up with maybe language that would kind of cover whatever you would need. There are a couple items that she also listed, supporting intergenerational programming through the youth, senior citizen commissions, et cetera. Was there any interest in participating in that, or even having it on our work plan? All right, and then the other thing is supporting and the rebranding of the community and senior center to be more health, wellness, and enrichment oriented as the arts programs kind of shift to Pacific View. Is there any interest in that being a work plan item? And I think the last thing that she had promoted as a possibility would be helping with the quarterly activity guide. And specifically, what were you kind of thinking that the commissioners might do in that respect? Are you looking at them to deliver to local businesses, or what were your thoughts?
The thought would be that it could be as simple as we give you a stack of activity guides, and as you're out and about in town and you see different places where magazines or guides, maybe your doctor's office, where you see a stack of different magazines, that you ask of like, hey, I'm a commissioner, would you mind if we left one of our guides here at your office? And I know for me as a professional, often I just would have them in my car, and if and when the opportunity presents itself, it's nice to put it out there. It's just an extra way of reaching out and connecting to our residents and customers and potential future customers. So again, these are things that could be done that don't need to be in a work plan, and even the different ideas for instructors and stuff. I am available. You can reach out to me anytime. This was just some concepts of what could go in a work plan, but by all means, as we're discussing it, I welcome, whether it's on a work plan or not, these ideas and ways to support recreation. Thank you.
My thoughts again are that it's more promotional based, and again, if the ad hoc chooses that they would like to participate in that aspect, you could certainly add that to your language, and it would just be something that you would do. And again, it only comes out quarterly, so it's not like it's a monthly activity. Anyone, did I end up covering all of your, okay, fantastic. Any other comments on a recreational services side? Manager Norgard, are there any things that from a park side that you might look to the commission for?
I think we're pretty well represented.
Okay. And then finally, looking out to the commissioners, are there any work plan items that, as a commissioner, that you would like to have the commission consider as an additional work plan item? Okay. I have one, and let me just find the paper for it. There's a one-day event that occurs, and it's called EcoFest, and it has had a long-standing history with the Parks and Rec Commission. It actually was founded by a Parks and Rec commissioner back in, I think it was 2005. I would kind of like to continue that history and move it forward this year with kind of identifying a particular work plan item that is pretty simple, but it acknowledges kind of that history and then also gives visibility to the event. And then also, I think the new board, it seems to be even more invigorated, where they'd like to take the idea and the concept behind EcoFest, which is really about sustainability and healthy environment, zero waste, and looking at other options of how can we continue to educate our community about that. So I would suggest an ad hoc, which would be something like commissioners will provide public outreach and volunteer at the EcoFest on June 2nd. Commissioners will also collaborate with Encinitas Environment Day to consider other community activities and venues to support sustainability and healthy environments in Encinitas. So I throw that out to the commission for consideration. Obviously, since I'm bringing it up, I would certainly participate on the ad hoc. Is there anyone else that might be interested in supporting that with me?
Manager Hamer, I would just like to touch upon something when they are events that are not city or city partnered events. We have had this with some of our other commissions that commissioners want to be involved in these types of activities, and if it's not a city or a city partnered event, we ask that if you'd like to volunteer as a citizen, that would be fine, but you would not represent the city as the Parks and Recreation Commission for a community event that was not linked to the city.
So in the past, this has been, and is that because it was held at Cottonwood? And so because it's being held at Fox Point Farms, I mean, I saw the City of Encinitas as a sponsor on their website, so you're not a sponsor for this year?
I don't believe our department is at this point, but we can look into that.
Correct. The Parks Department is not. That organization may have an MOU with the Sustainability Department. And I know that they've worked with the Environmental Commission in the past, so it seems like something that fits well in their lane. So it might be worth, reaching out to the Environmental Commission, and on our end, we can look at sustainability to see if there is an MOU. But as Manager Hamer mentioned, there's not really overlap to the Parks Department at this point, so I'm not sure that it would be a good fit for your organization.
I appreciate the advice. So at this point, until we investigate that maybe a little bit further, I'll go ahead and withdraw that suggestion. Thank you.
Clarification in regards to the work plan, when we sure up the language that we've discussed, then is it a non-changeable plan then for the year? Is there opportunities if things arise to make adjustments to it as we go, or is it done when we're done agreeing on it?
So the idea is that next month we will actually decide what our work plan is, and then what we do is it gets presented to the city council, and they basically it's like a consent item. So they'll just kind of consent to all of them, all the different commissions. That technically is our document as our authorization to do what we do. There are things that the city council can ask us to look into at their direction. There may be things that come up during the course of the year that I don't know if it has to come from the city or whether it could just come from staff with us to, like for instance, if there was major basketball issue and the community is up in arms about it. I assume, if we start hearing from the public that at that point that it's something that we could work on, but I'm not quite sure on the mechanics of that. Could you maybe go into detail, Manager Norgard?
Yeah, sure. In essence, when City Council adopts the work plan, it's pretty set in stone. It's infrequent and rare to change the work plan once it's in motion, and it can be done by going back to City Council. And as Chair Ritter mentioned, if something comes up and the department would like to bring something to the commission before we go to council, we have the ability to do that. The late two numbers on the agenda are for commissioner-initiated items, or I can't remember what the other one is. We can always add something and bring it as a standalone through that way.
Good point. Thank you. Vice Chair Hansen?
The outcomes aren't set in stone. We can always move that as it develops, right?
The outcomes should be pretty static, but the intended outcomes, so at the top where we say projected outcomes, that should be set in stone, but the final outcome will be written later, and that, again, goes back to council.
So the ideal situation is the final outcomes are basically a resolution of the projected outcomes. Any other comments before we move on? Okay. So again, I would just say that reach out to either Manager Hammer or to Manager Norgard. Manager Norgard is our official liaison to the commission. However, if it's a recreational services specific ad hoc type thing, then definitely reach out to Manager Hammer directly, because she's going to be able to answer that more fully for you. So moving back to the agenda, we've taken care of the work plan item. So what do we have left here? Moving on to 9, Park Operations Report. Manager Norgard?
Thank you, Chair Ritter. I have a couple updates for you this evening. The first is that on March 27th, Council received a staff presentation on the South American palm weevil and provided direction to staff. As a reminder, the South American palm weevil is an invasive weevil that attacks Canary Island date palms and some other palm species. Once a tree is infested with the South American palm weevil, there's no cure and the palm will die. So 100% mortality once infested. Council provided direction that the date palm at Moonlight Beach, the heritage tree that's out in the sand, will continue to be treated prophylactically to deter that pest. And no other palms in the city will be treated unless they also reach heritage status. In that vein, the large cluster of palms that is in the Moonlight Beach parcel, and for new commissioners, what we call the Moonlight Beach parcel is in between Cottonwood Creek and Moonlight Beach, kind of at 3rd and B is the western terminus of that, and that's the area where there's the tennis court kind of behind 101. There's a stand of 9 or 10 very large Canary Island date palms in that parcel that are infested, and those have been identified by the city arborist, and we are scheduling removal of those palms because it is A, a wetland, and B, very limited access to that space. Most of the work's going to be done by hand and small machines, so that's going to start in about a week and could take 2 to 4 weeks for that to happen. And we're working with our partners at the Cottonwood Creek Conservancy as well as San Diego Botanic Garden, who's implementing our habitat stewardship plan, to come up with some plans to revegetate the area once the palms are gone with more natives. Additionally, Beacons Beach trail access has been closed since January due to another recent landslide. Work to repair the trail at Beacons has begun, and that work should take the next couple of weeks. So there is a contractor that has done many beach access repairs for us in the past under the guidance of a geotechnical engineer. So they went out today and began initial work to demolish the steps and take measurements and figure out how to rebuild them. That should take a couple weeks, but they're underway now, and staff are working with them pretty much on a day-to-day basis. And lastly, for any of the new commissioners, please let me know your shirt size, and we will get you a fancy Parks and Recreation polo that you can wear to events and represent the commission. And that concludes my report.
Well, I'm glad to hear that we're getting rid of those canary palms there at the Moonlight parcel. I was looking at them just a couple days ago, and I'm like, woo, they're there. And my concern is that they spread to the heritage tree. So getting them out of there decreases perhaps that possibility. Also, when I was kind of standing over the parking garage there at the Marine Safety Center, I was looking at how many canary palms are still in that vicinity, and of course they're on private property. But I was talking to John Ugrub, who is Public Works Supervisor, about the idea of reaching out to those local residents and letting them know about, one, what that pest is and what it can do, and two, let them know that there is a treatment that you could do to kind of protect the chance that it might get infected. Like Manager Norgard said, once they get in there, it's quick and they die quick, and those are beautiful, expensive trees. And I would say in a lot of those yards, it's the prominent thing that's in their yard. So I would think there might be some interest in protecting them. But the overall goal is to keep it from reaching the heritage tree. We can chemically treat it. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to protect it. But I just thought, oh, well, at least maybe we might give a little extra time. So great to hear that. To kind of piggyback on Manager Norgard's comments regarding the T-shirts, definitely make sure that you get with him regarding what your T-shirt size is. I know that Nate has been working with a uncooperative vendor on getting name tags for you as well. So he's doing the best to get that, and that has actually been ordered quite a while ago, but just kind of slow in delivery. Any questions or comments regarding the Parks Operations Report? All right, let's switch over to Recreational Services, please.
Manager Hamer. We hosted a spring egg hunt that had to pivot to a spring egg drive-through. We did get assistance from Chair Ritter and our team in the pouring rain. And we, instead of doing a hunt, we distributed eggs. We had about 500 cars come through ECP, Encinitas Community Park, and approximately 700 children received some spring spirit in the pouring rain. It was a lot of fun, I believe, for those who were there. And it was a wake-up call to always have a plan B, and we'll be planning for 2025. So we have a drier choice to make if it rains on us again. As stated by the people who visited here, the Encinitas Community and Senior Center gym lights received their upgrade and improvement. So thank you for the support on that. I did share with some of our commissioners that the first day, as people came in, you could hear, wow, oh, just such exclamations of impression of just how much brighter and better it was. So it was a huge hit. And I'm so glad to see that they brought you a thank you note. It's very, very kind. We also laid down LVT in our banquet hall for flooring. For years, it was always carpet, which was very limited to what you could do on carpet. And now that we have LVT, it's more of a multi-purpose room. So once again, our goal in expanding programs, that's a big perk that we had that just recently upgraded. That was in March. Last weekend, Arbor Day was hosted on Saturday at Encinitas Community Park. I want to thank the Chair Ritter, Vice Chair Hansen, and Commissioner Quinn for joining us. It was a lot of fun, planted over 50 trees. David's team was there as well. And that event is actually going to be organized by Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts next year. So hopefully you'll have an active role in participating in that again. The Arts Division is hosting Music by the Sea. It's a concert featuring Iono Pei and friends. That's this Friday on April 19th, 7:30 p.m. at the Encinitas Library Community Room. Tickets are on sale online right now for $20 and at the door for $25. But this event has been very, very popular, and they usually sell out. So if you had any interest, I recommend you get your tickets now. The Arts Division also features a weekly concert. It's called Wednesdays at Noon in the same Encinitas Library Community Room. Extremely popular also, and often it fills to capacity and they have to turn people away. So another very popular program. Already mentioned was the movie in the park, Saturday, May 4th. Again, Glen Park. The movie is Disney Pixar's Elemental, and we will be featuring activities and a possible pop-up park now that we have cornhole games. But there'll also be some STEM projects, kind of science projects and crafts in Scout House. If you've ever been to Glen Park, there's a Scout House building where we host our summer, spring, and winter camps. So we use that site to run children's activities and fun things with our movies in the park. Also, our summer activity guide is now under production and being finalized. It will be sent to residents on Saturday, May 11th, and registration for summer will open on Monday, May 13th. I know somebody asked me that, and I didn't have that date handy, so I wanted to make sure you're aware. So please look for that in your mailboxes and be aware that that's when it opens. You've already talked about Cyclovia, so that again is Sunday, May 19th. We already discussed it. It's 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There will be volunteer opportunities for that, as well as the pop-up park that Parks and Recreation Commission hosts. And I do believe some of the other commissions may want to participate and support that with your commission, another potential liaison or collaboration. And I also wanted to mention that the Arts Division is hosting a youth piano competition on May 4th. It's actually not open to the public, but whoever wins from that competition will be performing on June 15th with an orchestra, and that will be at the community center. So once that's finalized, I'll get you those dates and those details. And as you all received the invite, we have the VIP appreciation reception on Monday, April 29th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. I hope you can join us. There'll be a lot more conversations about what our volunteer program is about, how we're looking to expand it and grow it, and most importantly, for all of us to say thank you, not only to all our commissioners, but all the volunteers who help us day in, day out, especially with our senior lunch program. That is Monday through Friday. Many of those volunteers commit many, many hours, and they save tons of not only staff time, but city budget when they are filling in and doing the work of staff. So thank you. That's all I have.
I had a question regarding Cyclovia as to who the lead organization is that basically is in charge of it.
That is the City of Encinitas program. Before it was the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department that was in charge of it. Since Nick Buck has transitioned to mobility and traffic, it will be a combination. So Parks, Recreation, Cultural Arts is still taking the lead for all the logistics. So Nicole White will be the lead person for logistics, and then Nick Buck with mobility and transportation will be the oversight for the vendors and some of the other elements. And there's often a lot of collaborating when we do events, so we will definitely look into the EcoFest, because if that's, just like the Arbor Day might be a collaboration where we decide to host a department booth there. That's not currently under review, but we'll definitely take a look at it and get back to you.
Great. Yeah, in particular, I just wanted to make sure, I spoke with Christine Schindler, who is very involved in anything biking, and told her of our intention of holding another pop-up park there during Cyclovia. But I just wanted to make sure that we were in contact with the powers that be. So it sounds like talking with Nick and talking to Nicole would be the people, just to let them know that, yeah, we're still interested in kind of activating the south side of it.
Yes, Nicole is, Supervisor White is aware, as well as Manager Buck. So they have it slated already, and it'll be more about the details and what supplies are needed and what you plan on. But those would be your lead contacts, yes.
Thank you. Any questions regarding recreation services from the commissioners? All right, fantastic. Thank you very much for the reports. Moving on, further down the agenda, I don't think that we have any commissioner member initiated agenda items or any future agenda items. So let's just move on to the commission roundtable. So this is an opportunity for the commissioners to give updates on anything that they'd like. Why don't we just start at the far end there with Commissioner Quinn, if you have any comments.
All respect, I have nothing. Sorry.
And we'd like to welcome Commissioner Evers. We're excited to have you joining us. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, just I'm excited to be here, and thank you for the warm welcome and the time, Chair, to help me orientate myself. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up?
Nothing from me today, thank you.
All right, thank you. And Commissioner Capiello?
There's a lot to learn, but I'm happy to be here. And I'm looking forward now that we have the contact to start reaching out and talking to the ad hoc members and getting to know you guys better. So thanks.
Yeah, so Manager Norgard has distributed a new spreadsheet that includes all of our contact numbers and email addresses, as well as his contact number and email address as our staff liaison. So if you haven't seen it in your inbox yet, it should be there now. Vice Chair Hansen.
Yeah, I'll start out with the really positive stuff. Arbor Day was just unbelievably fun, and you can feel it getting bigger and better every year. So congratulations on that. I guess Your congratulations is for next year when you're managing it. So we'll congratulate you in advance. And for our fellow commissioners, I just want to say I'm available. If you guys ever want to talk and have questions, I feel you just struggling with the questions. So you've got my phone number. Please call me. I'd love to have coffee with you and just share with you my experiences. I think the bottom line is we like to have fun and we like to get really involved in with city events and what the city's doing. So bottom line, I feel that's the responsibility, is the enthusiasm and volunteering and being at events and representing the city in a good way. So again, my phone number's on the list now, and you guys can call me, email me, whatever you want to do. And if we do coffee, we'll go Dutch. Just kidding. I don't think I had anything else. No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Hansen. Well, you guys all know that I like to talk a lot, but I also bring pictures. So, Manager Norgard, you've heard a lot about the water fountain, so I thought I would visually show you. This is the water fountain that Friends of Encinitas Park donated to the city of Encinitas and to our department. And if Vice Chair Hansen, would you mention again the name of the foundation that donated the money?
Indirectly, it was Athletic Brewing, and they have a foundation called Two for the Trails. And Athletic Brewing, if you don't know it, it's a non-alcoholic beer and just a great beer. I was lucky enough to have the founder as a neighbor across the street, and I just casually hit him up. And no, he's actually East Coast, but he was actually very close to staying in Encinitas. He loves it here, but he rebounded back to where he was comfortable. And athletics on the East Coast, but it was their foundation that helped us out.
80% of their money in January. I read an article about that. They make 80% of their money in January.
All the wagoners.
Yeah, dry January. So, yes, it basically is two different water fountains, and it has a bottle filler in the middle. If you'd go to the next slide. Just wanted to kind of share the amazing Parks and Recreation team that was out there in the pouring rain. I didn't hear a single complaint from any one of them. I was just so impressed with staff. They were so enthusiastic, and it really showed with the kids. When the windows would come down, the doors would open, and the bunny was there, and we had eggs to give them. The kids were just ecstatic because they really thought that they weren't going to have an Easter, but I am so proud of our department to pull through, to be able to pivot so quickly, and that we still got to get rid of some of those 24,000 eggs that you guys had worked so hard to fill. So thank you very much for that. Next slide, you can see here where they're actually handing out the eggs. So we had backup of cars just waiting to get eggs, and so I was really happy to see the community really get involved. And the next slide, please. Here, I just wanted to thank the commissioners that joined me, Commissioner Quinn and Vice Chair Hansen. Here we are with state and assembly member representatives, but just big smiles. Look at that big smile on Vice Chair Hansen. I mean, if that isn't enthusiasm right there. But yeah, it was a great event. They planted 50 trees in ECP, which is fantastic to get even more trees in that park. So fantastic, and I'm excited about the department taking over the responsibility for holding that event from Public Works next year. And then my last photo here is I just wanted to say, if you haven't gotten out there yet, go take a stroll, a ride. a scoot down the Cardiff Rail Trail. I'm sorry, the Coastal Rail Trail, CRT. It is absolutely gorgeous right now. Everything's in bloom, and the Parks Department is doing a fantastic job of maintaining that trail for us. So just wanted to show it off, and it is amazing how much usage that trail gets, and I am so excited about the extension of it, hopefully sometime soon. They have gotten money allocated for it. Now it's just a matter of it kind of coming together. It's still years in the future, but, you know, at least we have money for it. So that is my final report, and at this point, at 7:29, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.